Amid the relentless howl of a fierce winter storm sweeping across the vast and unforgiving plains of the Old West, a lone cowboy found himself facing a choice that would define his legacy. His last blanket, worn thin but treasured, was all that stood between warmth and the biting cold that threatened to claim the life of a stranger lost to the blizzard's fury. With no hesitation, he wrapped the shivering man in that final piece of protection, a selfless act that would echo far beyond the storm's fury and reshape the destiny of many. That night, beneath the raging winds and swirling snow, the cowboy's simple gesture stood as a beacon of humanity amid the harshness of a world that often prized survival over compassion. The man he saved was more than just a stranger. He was a symbol of hope, resilience, and the unexpected bonds forged in the wild frontier. What neither could foresee was how this act of generosity would summon a powerful response, unlike any the cowboy had ever imagined. As dawn broke, the storm's fury began to subside, revealing a landscape blanketed in white and a silence that spoke louder than words. At the cowboy's gate stood an astonishing sight: 50 horses, their riders waiting patiently in the early morning light, a living testament to gratitude and loyalty multiplied. This was not merely a repayment, but a declaration that kindness, even in the toughest times, breeds a strength that unites and protects. This is a story of courage, sacrifice, and the profound impact of giving when all seems lost. A story where the warmth of one man's blanket grew into the power of an army's loyalty. It reminds us that in the Old West, where danger lurked behind every ridge, the greatest strength often came not from weapons but from the hearts willing to give without expecting in return. Join me as we uncover the journey of the cowboy, the man wrapped in his last blanket, and the 50 horses that answered a call of gratitude. This tale will challenge your understanding of loyalty and show you how one act of kindness can ignite a legacy that lasts forever in the wild and beautiful West. The storm had settled into a fierce, unforgiving roar, the wind whipping through the barren plains like a living beast. Snow fell thick and fast, swallowing the landscape in a cold, white silence broken only by the distant howl of the elements. In the midst of this relentless tempest, a lone figure struggled through the blizzard, a man lost, weak, and barely clinging to life. His breaths came in ragged gasps, and his body shook uncontrollably against the brutal cold. Most would have turned away, but the cowboy who spotted him understood something others have forgotten. Sometimes survival depended not only on grit, but on mercy. The cowboy's own life was a daily battle with the harshness of the frontier, yet even in this frozen wasteland, he carried a deep well of compassion. His last blanket, threadbare and worn but precious, was all he had to offer against the storm's bite. Without hesitation, he shed it from his back and wrapped it around the shivering stranger. In that simple act of giving his final shield against the cold, the cowboy extended more than warmth. He extended hope, a rare gift in a world too often hardened by necessity. As the stranger's body slowly ceased its tremors, wrapped in the blanket's modest embrace, the cowboy stayed by his side, watching over him as the storm raged on. The cold was merciless, but so was the human spirit when touched by kindness. This quiet vigil beneath the howling wind was a testament to the power of compassion to offer refuge where survival seemed impossible. No words were spoken, none were needed. Their shared silence echoed a deeper truth about the bonds forged in adversity. The night dragged on, a relentless test of endurance and faith. The cowboy's thoughts wandered to the countless lives lost to cold and cruelty, wondering how many might have survived if only they had been met with a similar kindness. In this moment, he was not just a man offering a blanket. He was a guardian of hope, the last line between life and death for a stranger in the storm. Little did he know that this night would mark the beginning of a story far greater than he had imagined. As dawn approached, the storm's fury began to wane, the first pale light cutting through the frozen darkness. The cowboy, weary but vigilant, knew that the true test was yet to come. For the act of giving his last blanket was not an end, but a spark, a call that would soon be answered in a way that would change his life forever. With the breaking of dawn, the horizon revealed a world transformed by the storm, a pristine blanket of snow covering the rugged land, silent and still. The man wrapped in the cowboy's blanket had regained enough strength to rise, and together they made their way back toward the ranch. As they approached, the cowboy was met with a sight that would forever be etched in his memory. 50 horses stood patiently at his gate, their riders ready to honor the man whose kindness had moved a tribe to respond. This unexpected arrival was more than gratitude. It was a powerful statement of loyalty and respect. The tribe, fierce protectors of their land and people, had answered the call of compassion with a force that spoke volumes about their values. Their horses, symbols of freedom and strength, represented a bond forged through honor and reciprocity. The cowboy's simple act of sharing his last blanket had awakened a spirit of unity that transcended the harsh divisions of the frontier. The rancher watched as the tribe's riders dismounted and approached, each step measured and filled with purpose. They brought gifts of food, tools, and protection, tokens of their commitment to stand beside the cowboy and his people. This alliance, born from an act of selflessness in a freezing storm, was a beacon of hope for the community. It demonstrated that true strength was found not in isolation, but in the bonds forged through kindness. As the day unfolded, stories were exchanged between settlers and tribal members, tales of survival and sacrifice weaving a shared history. The generosity of the tribe inspired the settlers, showing that the Old West was not only a land of hardship, but also a place where humanity could thrive through connection. The cowboy's last blanket had become a symbol of this new era, a legacy of courage, compassion, and unity. In the warmth of the gathering, beneath the vast western sky, the seeds of a remarkable partnership were planted, one that would endure through the trials ahead. The storm had passed, but its echoes remained, reminding all that even the smallest acts of kindness could summon the greatest strength. As the days passed, the alliance between the rancher and the tribe deepened, blossoming into a powerful testament to the strength found in unity. The harsh landscape that once seemed so unyielding began to transform, softened not just by the shifting seasons, but by the growing bond between two very different peoples. They shared knowledge of the land, the tribe teaching the settlers how to read the signs of the wilderness, and the ranchers sharing tools and techniques to cultivate and defend their homes. Together, they built a community where the past divisions of mistrust and suspicion gave way to shared purpose and mutual respect. The wounded man who had been saved by the rancher's blanket became a living symbol of resilience, embodying the hope and strength that kindness could nurture. His journey from near death to a respected member of the community inspired all who heard it, reminding them that even the most desperate circumstances could give rise to new beginnings. Amid this growing community, celebrations and rituals brought joy and reinforced the bonds between settlers and tribal members. Stories were told around campfires, weaving together the threads of their shared history and dreams for the future. The night sky seemed to watch over them, stars twinkling like silent witnesses to a legacy born of compassion and courage. Yet, the frontier remained unpredictable. Threats from bandits and the harshness of nature tested their resolve. But now, fortified by their unity, they faced these challenges with confidence and determination. The alliance was more than a strategic partnership. It was a family forged in adversity, each member ready to protect and support the others. The rancher, once a solitary figure, found in this community a renewed sense of purpose. His simple act of giving his last blanket had sparked a movement, proving that in the Old West, the true power belonged to those who dared to show mercy in the face of hardship. The legacy they built together was a beacon of hope in a land where hope was often hard to come by. The story of the rancher and the tribe soon spread beyond their settlement, carried by travelers and traders who marveled at the unlikely alliance. Their tale became a symbol of what could be achieved when empathy and respect overcame fear and division. Other communities began to take notice, inspired to forge their own bonds and challenge the brutal isolation that had long defined frontier life. The rancher and tribal leaders welcomed newcomers with open arms, sharing their knowledge and values. Together, they established schools where children learned both the practical skills needed to thrive and the deeper lessons of honor, kindness, and cooperation. Markets and festivals flourished, celebrating the blend of cultures and the triumph of unity over adversity. Their governance was marked by fairness and inclusion, a model for others who sought peace in a land often marred by conflict. Decisions were made with the community's welfare at heart, ensuring that every voice was heard and every concern addressed. This spirit of cooperation turned the settlement into a thriving hub, resilient against the storms, both natural and human, that threatened it. Despite the peace they had cultivated, the land demanded vigilance. Harsh winters, droughts, and external threats tested their mettle, but the bonds they forged were unbreakable. They stood together, a living testament to the strength that kindness and unity could build. The rancher's last blanket was no longer just a symbol of warmth for one man, but a mantle carried by an entire community dedicated to protecting one another. Under the endless sky of the West, the settlement stood proud, a shining example of what humanity could achieve when guided by compassion and courage. Their story, born from a storm and a blanket, would be told for generations as proof that even in the wildest frontiers, hope can flourish when hearts come together. The seasons shifted, bringing with them the rhythms of frontier life. Harsh winters, bountiful summers, and the endless cycles of toil and renewal. The settlement, once fragile and uncertain, now thrived on the strength of its unity. Families worked side by side, tending fields that stretched toward the horizon, their labor a testament to the promise born from a single act of kindness. The rugged land, once a symbol of hardship, became a canvas upon which the community painted their shared story of resilience and hope. The cowboy who had given his last blanket became a revered figure, not for his prowess with a gun or his command over cattle, but for his courage to give when he had so little left. His story, intertwined with that of the tribe who returned his generosity tenfold, inspired others to believe that compassion could carve out spaces of safety and belonging even in the most unforgiving places. His humility and quiet strength set the tone for a community built on respect, empathy, and shared responsibility. Challenges did not disappear. They evolved. New threats emerged from rival groups and the unpredictable forces of nature. Yet, fortified by their collective spirit, the settlers and the tribes stood undaunted. They fortified their homes, shared their resources wisely, and taught their children not only how to survive, but how to live with honor and kindness. The lessons passed down from the rancher's simple act became the guiding principles of their lives. The man once saved by the blanket had grown into a leader, his past pain transformed into a source of wisdom and inspiration. His presence reminded the community daily that every life, no matter how broken or battered, held the potential for greatness when met with compassion. Through him, the settlement found its soul, a living testament to the power of mercy to transform and uplift. As twilight descended over the vast plains, the community gathered to honor their journey and the legacy they were building. Around flickering fires, stories of courage, sacrifice, and kindness were shared, stories that would be told for generations, a beacon of hope shining bright amid the wild and beautiful West. News of the community's transformation spread far beyond its borders, carried on the winds by traders, travelers, and whispers around distant campfires. The tale of the cowboy's last blanket and the tribe's remarkable repayment became a symbol of what humanity could achieve when kindness and loyalty led the way. Other settlements looked to this story as proof that the Old West was not solely a land of hardship and isolation, but a place where unity and generosity could flourish. The settlement welcomed newcomers with open arms, eager to share the lessons learned through their own trials and triumphs. Schools were built to educate the young in both practical skills and the values that had forged their community: honor, empathy, and cooperation. Markets blossomed into vibrant centers of trade and culture. Festivals celebrated the fusion of traditions, and homes were filled with laughter and love. Leadership evolved naturally from the foundation of mutual respect and shared responsibility. Tribal elders and rancher leaders worked side by side, guiding their people with wisdom and fairness. This balanced governance fostered peace and prosperity, setting an example for neighboring communities grappling with the lawlessness and uncertainty of frontier life. Despite ongoing challenges, droughts, harsh winters, and occasional conflicts, the community's spirit remained unbroken. Their strength lay not just in weapons or numbers, but in the unyielding bonds of trust and compassion they had built. The legacy of the Cowboy's blanket had grown beyond a single act into a symbol of enduring hope and humanity. As the sun set behind the rolling hills and stars blanketed the night sky, the community stood united, a living testament to the power of kindness to change lives, shape futures, and light the darkest paths across the wild and untamed land of the Old West. The community that had once been forged from desperation and a single act of generosity now thrived as a testament to human resilience and the power of shared purpose. Children played freely in the open fields, their laughter a bright contrast to the harsh winds that once swept the plains with ruthless indifference. Families gathered around hearths, sharing meals and stories that celebrated their journey from hardship to hope. The land itself seemed to respond to their unity, yielding bountiful harvests and calmer skies, a reflection of the harmony they had cultivated among themselves and with nature. The rancher who gave his last blanket had become more than a figure of legend. He was the heartbeat of a community that valued kindness as much as courage. His leadership was quiet but unwavering, reminding everyone that true strength came from empathy and the willingness to stand for others when it mattered most. The tribe that had returned his generosity tenfold became his closest allies, their traditions and wisdom enriching the fabric of daily life. Together, they modeled a new way of living on the frontier, one where compassion was the fiercest weapon against despair. Despite the peace they had built, the community remained vigilant. The Old West was a land of uncertainty, where threats could emerge as swiftly as the changing winds. But now, fortified by bonds of trust and mutual respect, they faced every challenge with a united front. They organized patrols, shared resources wisely, and taught the next generation the values that had sustained them through storms and trials. Their story became a powerful legacy, proving that even in the wildest places, humanity's greatest strength lies in its capacity for kindness and unity. The man saved by the rancher's blanket, once weak and alone, had grown into a symbol of hope and redemption. His journey inspired all who knew him to believe in the possibility of transformation, and his presence served as a daily reminder that every life could be renewed through compassion. His leadership, forged in the crucible of hardship, helped guide the community toward a future built on shared dreams and unwavering solidarity. As night fell over the vast plains, the settlement glowed with the warmth of more than just firelight. It was the warmth of a people bound together by generosity, courage, and an unbreakable spirit, a spirit that would carry them through any storm. The legend of the rancher's last blanket and the tribe's tenfold return continued to spread far and wide, carried on the winds by travelers and settlers inspired by their tale. This story became a beacon of hope in a world too often defined by conflict and division. Other frontier towns began to look beyond suspicion, opening their doors and hearts to those in need, forging alliances that challenged the harsh individualism that had long dominated the West. The community flourished as new families arrived, bringing fresh ideas and skills that further enriched the settlement. Schools were established to teach not only survival, but also the values that had made their town unique: empathy, cooperation, and respect for all. Markets and festivals celebrated the blending of cultures and the strength found in diversity, creating a vibrant tapestry woven from many threads. Leadership remained grounded in the principles that had fostered unity from the very beginning. Tribal elders and rancher leaders worked side by side, ensuring decisions were made with fairness and the well-being of all in mind. This balance created a society resilient to internal strife and external threats, a model of peace amid a wild and unpredictable land. The land itself seemed to respond to the care and harmony of its inhabitants. Rivers ran clearer, crops grew richer, and the once harsh environment became a home where life could truly thrive. The legacy of the rancher's blanket had become more than a story. It was a living testament to the power of kindness to heal and transform. As stars sparkled over the frontier night, the community rested, secure in the knowledge that their bond, born from an act of selflessness in the heart of the storm, would guide them through whatever challenges lay ahead, lighting the way in the vast, beautiful expanse of the Old West. The community's growth was not merely physical but spiritual, a testament to how kindness and shared purpose could nurture a society even in the harshest conditions. Families who had once wandered alone now thrived in the embrace of a collective that valued every voice and every life. The lessons learned from the rancher's act of giving his last blanket and the tribe's remarkable response became the cornerstone of their identity, a beacon that illuminated their path through challenges both natural and man-made. The land, once barren and unforgiving, transformed into a fertile ground where dreams were planted and nourished with the water of empathy and the sunlight of unity. This settlement was no longer just a place to survive. It had become a home where hope flourished and legacies were forged. The man who had been saved by the rancher's blanket rose as a living emblem of transformation and redemption, his journey inspiring all who crossed his path. His story, woven through the fabric of the community, reminded everyone that no matter how broken or abandoned a soul may seem, kindness has the power to rekindle the flame of purpose and belonging. His leadership was not imposed, but earned, built on the respect of a people who had witnessed firsthand the miracle of second chances. His life symbolized the profound truth that the Old West, though wild and unforgiving, could be tamed by the gentle strength of mercy and solidarity. As the community continued to prosper, their story began to echo beyond the boundaries of their settlement, reaching distant towns and sparking conversations about the true meaning of strength and survival. Travelers and settlers who heard the tale were moved by the radical idea that compassion and cooperation could overcome the brutal isolation and suspicion that had long ruled the frontier. They sought to learn from this thriving enclave, eager to replicate the spirit of unity and mutual care that had turned hardship into hope. The legacy of the rancher and the tribe became a guiding light, a model for how humanity could flourish even in the most challenging environments. Though challenges remained, wild weather, scarce resources, and occasional threats from those unwilling to embrace peace, the community faced them with unyielding courage and resilience. Their strength was no longer measured by weapons or territory, but by the depth of their connections and the unwavering commitment to protect and uplift one another. The rancher's blanket, once a fragile shield against the cold, had become a symbol of the enduring power of kindness, a mantle carried by an entire community determined to make the Old West a place of hope and humanity. As dusk painted the sky with colors of fire and gold, the settlement stood as a living testament to the extraordinary potential of generosity and unity. It was a place where stories of hardship transformed into legends of compassion, where the warmth of a single blanket had kindled a flame that would burn brightly through the generations. In the quiet evenings beneath the sprawling stars of the western sky, the rancher and the man he saved often reflected on the improbable journey that had reshaped their lives and the lives of so many. Their friendship, born of an act of selflessness during a fierce storm, had blossomed into a profound bond that anchored an entire community. They understood that their story was more than a recounting of survival. It was a timeless parable about the transformative power of kindness and the enduring strength of human connection. The town they helped build flourished not only in its structures and harvests, but in the hearts of its people. Children grew up learning that true wealth was found in generosity and loyalty rather than gold or land. The values of empathy and cooperation were passed down as treasured legacies, guiding future generations in building lives grounded in respect and shared responsibility. Their tale became the foundation upon which the community's identity was built, a shining example of what could be achieved when humanity chose to stand together. Nature itself seemed to honor their efforts. The once harsh and barren landscape responded to their care, blossoming with life and vitality. Rivers flowed clearer, wildlife returned, and the land sustained those who had nurtured it with love and determination. This harmony between people and place was a living proof that even the wildest frontiers could be transformed by the gentle power of compassion. Though the frontier remained unpredictable and wild, the community stood firm, united by a legacy that transcended hardship and adversity. The story of the rancher's last blanket and the tribe's tenfold generosity was more than history. It was a guiding light, a beacon of hope for all who sought to find strength and kindness amid life's storms. Their journey reminded all who heard it that even the smallest acts of humanity could grow into legacies that shaped the course of generations. As the stars twinkled endlessly above the plains, the rancher and the man he saved sat in quiet contentment, knowing their story would live on, a timeless reminder that kindness, courage, and unity are the greatest forces in the wild, beautiful land known as the Old West. As we come to the end of this remarkable story, it's clear that the true legacy of the Old West is not measured by the battles fought or the land claimed, but by the moments of compassion that light the darkest nights. The cowboy's last blanket, given without hesitation to a stranger in the storm, set in motion a chain of loyalty and generosity that changed lives and built a community rooted in humanity. This powerful lesson reminds us that even the smallest acts of kindness can ripple outward, transforming not just individuals but entire worlds. Throughout this journey, we've seen that strength is not simply physical might or rugged survival. It is the courage to give when you have little left and the grace to accept help when you need it most. The alliance forged between the rancher and the tribe teaches us that honor and respect transcend boundaries, bridging cultures and hearts in ways that no weapon ever could. It challenges us to consider how we can embody such generosity and forge our own bonds of trust in the world around us. Let this story inspire you to look for the moments where you can be the light in someone's storm. Whether it's a gesture of kindness, a word of encouragement, or a simple act of giving, these moments have the power to change destinies. When we come together in unity and empathy, we create a force stronger than any adversity. The spirit of the Old West lives on in these acts of humanity that continue to shape our lives today. If this story moved you, take a moment now to share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Your voice might be the spark that inspires someone else to choose kindness. And if you want to keep exploring stories that warm the heart and awaken the spirit, make sure to subscribe and join our community. Together, we honor the lessons of the past as we build a better future. Thank you for watching and sharing in this journey. May the courage of the cowboy and the loyalty of the 50 horses remind you that no matter how fierce the storm, kindness and unity will always light the way forward.